What's up, y'all? Quincy here with Baby Yoda. Today, I'm gonna talk about being alone. I recently went on a solo trip. If you haven't watched the video, I'm gonna put it up here. Click on it, but not until you finish this one. Because if you don't know how to be alone, you're definitely not gonna be taking a trip by yourself to a foreign country, or anywhere for that matter. But what I'm here to talk about today is being alone and how to be happy being alone and being comfortable with yourself to the point where you can do things alone that you normally wouldn't. I recently took this trip to Costa Rica, and a lot of people messaged me like, did you go alone? Who did you go with? Oh my gosh, you're so brave for going alone. And that made me think like, wait a minute, is this weird? Like, am I a loner? Am I doing something that people don't normally do? And I understand, like, yeah, people normally go on trips with friends, people usually go on vacations with their family, but you know, sometimes that's not always an option. And sometimes you want to go and do something that you want to do but nobody else wants to do. And that was kind of a mix of what happened with me with going to Costa Rica. Honestly, I never really thought about how much I do things alone. I've always kind of been pretty independent and have no problem just doing what I want to do without worrying about having someone else along there with me. And now that I kind of see that maybe that's not the norm, maybe a lot of people struggle with this type of thing, I realize that, maybe I am a loner. In American culture, it's kind of looked down upon to be a loner. That word definitely has a negative connotation, which it shouldn't, because I think the people who go through life alone, or the people who are able to do things alone and be comfortable with themselves and confident with themselves, those are strong ass people. They really are comfortable with themselves and they know how to entertain themselves and do things the way that they want to do them, which is a really good asset to have, especially today in this world where everyone is constantly needing someone alongside or a phone to distract them. If you don't really know yourself, if you're not comfortable with yourself, how can you expect other people to know you? How can you expect to have relationships if you don't know what drives you, what pushes you? Getting to know yourself is one way of setting yourself up for success in the future, because once you get to know yourself and your intentions and your goals and your desires, there's a clearer path forward to the things that you want to do in the future. I received a lot of messages saying that my trip was so inspirational and I should be doing things on my own and I really want to take a solo trip, but. Everyone was coming up with some kind of excuse. And of course it's nerve-wracking to do things on your own, especially taking a trip, you know, to another country with a foreign language where you've never been to before, and it could potentially go wrong, or you could get lost or whatever. There's tons of things that could go wrong, but the things that you should be focusing on are how to make being alone and doing things alone successful. How to make yourself comfortable doing these things without needing anyone else to entertain you or to comfort you or to make you feel secure or to validate you. In this world that we live in, validation is like way overloaded. Every single day we are seeking out validation online. Anything that we post on social media, we're expecting a response from others. And that trains the brain to seek out validation from outside sources, which, you know, is not always a horrible thing. You know, sometimes it's really good to have that confirmation from others to help boost you up and to get you going to where you need to be going, or to help you do something that you really wanted to do and maybe you just needed a little boost from others. Sometimes that's great, but there's other times when outside validation can dissuade you from doing the things that you want to do most. And that's when it becomes a problem. Things that other people say stick with you. I got my personal training certificate and I was talking to a friend who was like, oh, I don't really see you as a motivating person. How are you gonna motivate others to work out? And that really stuck with me. I ended up having that insecurity while I was starting out as a personal trainer, and I ended up not even going into that line of work, partially because of the pandemic and all the gyms were closed, but also because I have this insecurity, like, oh my gosh, maybe I can't do this. That's the type of problem that comes from asking people, oh, what do you think about this? Or should I do this? Or would I be good at this? They don't know you. And if you don't know yourself, how can you expect others to know you? In the past, people have made me feel kind of weird about wanting to do things alone or being comfortable doing things alone. It always stops me in my tracks, like, what do you mean? Why is it a problem to do something alone? We are our own individual people, and if you can't do things alone, how do you get anything done in life? There's not always going to be someone by your side pushing you along to get you to the next stepping stone. You got to do some things on your own. I realized that when someone else is criticizing your ability or your desire to be alone, that's just them projecting their insecurities onto you. It happens all the time that people are projecting their insecurities onto you, and you have to like put up this wall like, no ma'am, no, I will not allow it. That is you. You have to call them out. You have to be like, yo, I think that you are projecting. Most people actually have problems being alone because that's when you are stripped down, it's just you, and you start to think about your life, your existence, your truths, and for a lot of people that can be really scary. And that doesn't mean you're not gonna feel lonely sometimes. I feel lonely here and there. Of course, I want to be with people. I'm not saying that you should never hang out with people. The only way to truly get to know yourself is to cut out the excess noise, block out all of the peripherals, and spend some time with yourself. I think a lot of us probably did that during the pandemic. We were forced to just be alone or with our family or with our significant others for a really long time. But I'm not sure if that was necessarily the best time to be reflecting on yourself or to be learning about yourself because things were so limited and so much craziness was going on in the world. I've spent more time alone over the past year than probably in my entire life. Just because, obviously, what was going on in the world just kind of made this atmosphere, this environment where, yeah, most people are alone. I was working from home alone, and yeah, I was zooming in to work and video chatting with my coworkers, but I was still sitting alone in my apartment. I moved down to Miami alone. I went on this trip alone, and it's really kind of opened my eyes to a few things. This is gonna sound morbid, but when you spend time alone, as you're getting to know yourself, you start to think about death. And you start to realize, oh shit, like, I'm not gonna be here forever. There's some things that I really wanna do. There's these goals that I have, these intentions, and it makes you kind of realize, okay, I am this certain unique way. I am this individual person, this individual being, and when I'm separated from society, I can kind of realize my own unique talents, my own characteristics, and not have any kind of clouded judgment around or any kind of outside influences that affect that. You are the only person that is going to be with yourself for your whole life. People will come and go. Some will last longer than others, but it's really just up to you in the end to kind of get to know who you are and who you want to be. I found this article about a study that was done saying that there are 3 parts of your life that are the most lonely. One is when you're in your later life, like 80s and later. One is in your 50s, around like your midlife crisis. And the other part is in your mid to late 20s. And I am 25, I'll be 26 in less than 2 weeks. Yay. But I realize that right now I'm kind of going through this transition, lonely phase where I am the one at the steering wheel. I'm in control of what I want, which is kind of scary and it's kind of isolating when you don't have a significant other or someone around you. It can be challenging because you have to make all the decisions. But when you look at it in a different light, it's extremely empowering because you have control over your own destiny. It sounds extremely cheesy. It sounds so Star Wars. You have control of your own destiny. I was never one to be hanging out with friends constantly, always doing something with other people. Part of that is just who I am and my own personality. I grew up in Maine, so there was a lot of outdoor things to do, and I was always running around on my own, exploring, like going on hikes, going to the beach, going to see the sunset, going in the woods and playing Harry Potter or whatever. I was always just doing my own thing. I went to college at Penn State, so that was like 7-8 hours, maybe longer, from where my parents lived. I studied abroad in Madrid. I didn't know anyone there, but I made friends. I moved back to Madrid. I made more friends. I moved to Florida. I made friends. You know, when you do things alone, it actually kind of opens you up to people that you may not meet otherwise. When I was on this trip in Costa Rica, I was eating dinner in the lodge, and this older couple was in there as well, and we started talking about life and how they live in an RV now and they sold their homes and they come to Costa Rica for their health care, and they invited me to eat with them. So I was sitting here with these people I just met, who were in their 70s, and we were just having the grandest time, just having good conversation. And I really missed that. Like I missed the spontaneity of meeting people and doing things and having new experiences. It's never too late to start loving on yourself, because everybody needs some self-love and self-care, especially during these times. We all need to just take some time to meditate, which I've been trying to get into. It's really hard to shut your brain down and just be quiet and just be within. See, in the quiet, just resonating in the quiet. I don't know, I'm weird. I really am starting to only want to spend time with the people that I care dearly about or really want to get to know, or the people that give me really good energy. It can come off in a kind of mean way, but I think that it's actually a positive thing, because I'm starting to understand what works for me and how to enjoy the time that I have on this planet. Maybe it's the mustache. I'm starting to sound kind of like a hippie. It depends on who you ask. Someone was like, oh, I really like your hippie stash, and other people are like, why you have the porn stash? It's just a mustache, y'all. Anyway, sidetrack. I've never been someone who's had a ton of friends. There's been parts of my life where I've had more friends, and there's been parts of my life where I've been kind of just doing my own thing. But I have, I would say, like 3-4 really good friends that I could call and they'd pick up and they'd be like, what do you need? What's going on? And I'm so thankful for those people. But, you know, those aren't people that I see every day. Those aren't people that I talk to every day. I know that if I need them, they're gonna be there for me. And if they need me, I'll be there for them. Period. In this social media age, it feels like, oh yeah, like this person has tons of friends because they have so many followers, or oh, they must be so popular. Does popularity matter after high school? Like even in college, I guess maybe it still is a factor in college, but after that, does anyone actually give a f? It's really easy to look from the outside at someone and be like, wow, like look at all of their friends. They have so much going for them. They're so popular, they're so cool, blah, blah, blah. When in reality, you don't know what's actually going on in their lives. My point is that it's really easy to feel like you need to have a lot of friends or a lot of people around you all the time. My advice to you is to not feel that way and to try to avoid those feelings. Good ways to do things alone. Spend a Saturday alone when you otherwise maybe would spend it with friends. Go out to dinner by yourself. Buy yourself a drink. You deserve it. Go to a movie alone. That's like probably the easiest thing you could do alone, because nobody likes people who talk during movies. You just sit and watch a movie. Go on. Get your movie on. Get your popcorn. Get your nachos. Mixing peanut M&Ms in your popcorn is like a little bit of salty, a little bit of chocolate. It's just good. Moving on from that, other things you can do alone. Go kayaking. If you don't have water near you, go on a bike ride alone. Literally, anything that you can do with other people, you can do alone. It might feel awkward at first, especially if you're like dining out alone. I know some people feel like self-conscious about that, but who cares? People do that all the time. Planning things out for yourself is such a great way to not feel lonely and to do things on your own. Plan a Saturday out for yourself. Go get food on your own and eat there sit at the table, order a glass of wine or Sprite or whatever, and just enjoy your own company. If you guys feel like you have something to add to this video, please put it in the comments, because I really have enjoyed reading all your comments on my videos. It's something that actually really is my favorite part of YouTube, because everyone's pretty nice so far and it feels like authentic, whereas other social media sites, maybe it doesn't quite feel that way. But if you have your own experience of being alone or coming to terms with just who you are and learning about yourself, I would love to hear that. Costa Rica was the biggest trip I've ever done by myself, but it gave me some great insight into just how much fun you can provide for yourself. And I had the best time. It was probably one of the best things I've ever done for myself, and I'm so glad that I did it, because it made me realize that, yeah, you can mix it up sometimes. Sometimes it's better to just do your own thing. Other times, go with your friends and have a good time. We need to train ourselves to be comfortable with being happy alone. If you can't love yourself, how can you expect anyone else to love you? Wait, I don't think that's the quote. If you can't love yourself, how can you love anyone else? There it is. I hope y'all have a fantastic week, and I will catch you on the next one.